Welcome in, everyone. We're going to do our power hour stream here. I just want to make sure everything is good. How is the sound for you guys? You can see the screen, it looks like. Everything should be set up here. And if you need to talk in the chat, if you look at the main screen, there's just that little, I'll pop it over here. You just can pop up here, hit show chat, so the chat's going to all just be directly in here versus in the main chat. Good, audio's good. That's always my main thing because the mic always switches over to my speaker, so I try to always kind of get that first. But what's up, Sparkle Pony? Don Nico, what's up? We're gonna get a party in here today, which would be kind of nice. So as always, we're just gonna kind of look at some flow that's coming in. If anybody wants me to pull up any charts, anything like that, feel free to just go ahead and drop them in the chat. But we can take a peek at these PFE calls that just hit the tape here right when I was starting this. The 11:21:26 call here. So a lot of premium here. I kind of want to see all that volume as well there. So there's a lot of volume going on here. I want to see how much of that previous volume is here also. Looks like it's just small little ads here. So yeah, this is definitely a large whale coming in today, and obviously you see a big call spike today. Let's look at that flow. So the only thing I don't like though is it does overlap earnings in 18 days. You got 35 days expiration on these, 6% out of the money. Probably don't consider these an earnings play because you're not ending on the same week. But let's see where all that flow starts coming. So right here. So let's kind of take a peek at this. Let's start down here. So I'm looking at that IV. So 26.43 pops there. So I like that right away. Now your IV is starting to drop here. This is one thing I don't like. And keep in mind, keep an eye on that timing too. This is all about within the same minute so far. So that IV is just kind of bouncing all over. You come back up here. IV really spikes here, so that's interesting to me there. That looks good. Spot price increases. So it drops a little bit there on a little bit of size. So what else do we have? 27 here. So yeah, that looks good there. I think this will be getting popped into that. Oh, here's the part I don't like here. So your spot's continuing to increase here, but you have that IV percent drop there, which I don't like, and that's on your big size and premium there. So I honestly would probably pass on that with that IV drop on the big size and premium. Just trying to see if anything else came in. You can see we're kind of pumping today too. So interesting one there. I wouldn't like this one just with the earnings overlap and then that IV drop. So like this is something that would go in the spotlight flow, which I will pop in there right now. So it wouldn't be a tracked flow alert, but it's unusual flow, but that flow is just not meeting all the qualifications as opening and trackable flow, where it's now if that IV would have popped on that big spike there, that would have been a good flow alert there for me because that IV was coming up most of the way there, but then on the big size and premium there it dropped. So let me pop this into the spotlight flow here. Let's see what else we got. I heard a couple other dings as well here. So we can look at these CRL 180 1121 calls here. Smaller size, little bigger bid-ask spread here, which I'm not a fan of. We do overlap earnings, so a lot of stuff's going to overlap earnings right now. So you're going to see a lot of stuff in the spotlight flow here and or the earnings flow. Let's take a peek at this, and my guess is it's a block trade because of the way it came in. So this one can actually kind of read a little bit. So typically when they come in as a block, all that size is coming in one transaction. Versus where you kind of can see that flow around it, like the Pfizer ones that we just looked at. But if it comes in a block, I do like to see that volume or flow before and after it. So we got the flow before, and it's not a huge chunk here, but you can see that IV increase here. So I like these, just not the fact that you overlap earnings and then you've got kind of up on the day, you're only 1% out of the money. I wish that size was a little bigger, but this will go in the spotlight flow. So great to kind of see how I narrow down that flow and how I'll select it for channels and all that right now. So spotlight flow again. So reasoning behind this, you overlap learnings. God, thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. You overlap earnings, and you had that block trade with no flow after it. So it does look good otherwise here. Obviously, the big spike on the net call premium. Now let's pop this in the spotlight flow quick. Probably should take the actual data here. I'm hearing lots of dings, which is a good sign that we're finally going to have some flow. And I accidentally posted 2 images here, so let me take out the one. Okay. Alright, so I see an aggregated hit here on the 12-19 SU39 calls. Good size, clean opening trade. Again, overlaps earnings, so this will probably be a spotlight flow trade. Actually, I want to do one more thing here. So, okay, a little wider bid-ask spread. So you got net put premiums and net call premiums kind of spiking here. Obviously, still seeing more call volume here. Let's look at that flow. And I always like to pop that out to that 250 so I can just kind of see as much of it as I can on the same page. So even though it's later in the day, that IV does kind of drop here compared to that earlier flow. So IV drops, we'll keep this in mind. 27.19. I can see it kind of decreasing up there already a little bit. 27.19. Again, you're coming in at the ask. So you can see where it starts to decrease here. I don't like this, even though you're still coming in at the ask. And this is again something that would probably go in that spotlight flow channel. Now if that IV was at that 27.15 and jumped up to that 27.19, that would be a good piece of flow here. So we do have a little multi-leg part coming in here at the end. So I don't like that flow with that IV decrease there, even though you're still coming at the ask. Because you can see you got that put premium coming up here as well, and that call premium. So to me, that's a little fishy there on the flow. Let me throw this in the spotlight flow though. So yeah, I mean, that's the one thing with the spotlight flow. That's where you kind of want to take a lot of due diligence and kind of chart it out a little bit more, versus the flow alert where you know it's perfect clean flow with that IV increasing, spot increasing. The pretty much essentially textbook flow. Like the spotlight flow, like you can see it looks good, but it just doesn't hit exactly what you'd like. So let me just throw this in the spotlight channel quick. And the reason I don't track the spotlight stuff is just because it's not that textbook flow. So we got some CMG 1031.46 calls here. About half the volume on the day in size here. So let's see where this other volume came in here. I'm going to grab a drink quick too. So this one, 10% out of the money. So this is earnings flow because this expires that same week as that earnings report. So earnings flow is always going to be a gamble no matter what, but we can take a peek at it. So I can see right away this flow actually does look good. Let's go over. So you can see how that IV spikes when it comes in. Spots coming in at the ask. Looks good there. And again, with the earnings flow, it's just a gamble, and I see an issue at it with it too at the end here, which I'll show everybody. So 65.16, we're looking good. It's coming in at the spot. just following this up, just making sure it's staying at the ask. And the bid here, obviously, you're going to when you're starting to get a lot of hits on a certain contract, you're going to obviously see that IV increase. That bid ask can kind of get a little goofy. It's only one contract here, and this is probably still at the ask, honestly, here. So then you see that spot increase here, and then that IV increases again here. So this is textbook flow so far, but we're just following this up. So now you see where that IV kind of decreases here, and this is on that bigger size and premium. Now, again, this is something, if it wasn't even earnings, let's just pretend earnings was in 80 days and this was 14-day flow. That IV decreasing there would turn me off, because this is where all that premium and size is coming in. So this would technically go in the spotlight flow, but this is earnings flow, and earnings, you never, I mean, that flow for earnings is just going to always be a gamble. Always going to be a gamble, but we're going to throw it in the earnings flow. Let's pop this into the earnings flow. Alright, let's see what else we got going on. So bid side, not a big fan of always posting. I like to see something really, really good for the bid side flow for premium sellers. Not always a lot. I mean, I'm very rare when I post that, so you're going to always usually see that ask side buying the put or buying the call, just because a lot of people don't sell premium, so I kind of tend to stay away from posting that. I do post it every once in a while if there's something really, really interesting that sticks out to me. Let's see what just hit the tape here. Multi-leg CACI, so we're just going to ignore that. ETF flow pretty quiet for the day. We actually hit those gold puts earlier in the day, and those are rocketing up here right now. Actually, I want to see, because I did put a take profit on my MSTR and BTIFs here, just because I knew I was going to hop on here. So these enter 44, trading at about 44, so up 10% there. MicroStrategy, those things are pumping. 415 was the entry, hit 526. Then the gold puts. I mean, great moves today. Yes, I can go back to dust for your simulation. For, let's see, okay, dust. So we can look at these. I want to see that open interest, though. I want to just make sure it's not previous. So, okay. Let's take a peek for you. So this was your original big volume coming in on that chain here. So obviously you can see coming back here on the second. I can check for you after this, Sheldon. Give me a second here. So I'm looking at this. So you had 3,600 carryover, so that whale carried over. Had 1,400 traded on the 6th here. So let's take a look. So your bid side here, and it looks like they closed a chunk of contracts here, and now you've got another 3,500 coming in today. So I'd want to see the open interest on this one on Monday. Obviously, massive spike today, so they could be closing out whatever's left here at the ask. I would want to double check that on Monday, but see if we can get a hint from the flow here. So this may be a closeout at the ask, so this may be a perfect example for you here, simulation. So you can see how that IV drops right when it starts to come in. You can even see you had that kind of bigger size here as well, and then right after that too, that IV drops. So I'm just kind of following this IV up 86.32, then drop down to 85.95. These may be sells at the ask. They may be taking profits on here, and that would make sense because well, I don't know, that's tough. They see 231 came up and hit 220. They could be cutting on the pump today. It's a tough one to kind of know until that open interest updates on Monday, but good find. And I do want to look at this too. I mean, Today's your biggest hit on the net call premiums. So interesting one there. For sure, I'd check that one on Monday. Make sure, see how much of that carries over or drops off. Let's look at Nat quick here for Sheldon. Let me pop that up. So the 3-5 call. Looks like most of that is still in here. 29 looks like they're trading at 33 right now. Hit about 34 there. So quick, good move on those ones for sure. And like this is something I always tell people too. You're up 29 up to 34, 33. You're up 10, 15, 20% on these depending on when you get in. Even though you're 63 days out, you should be protecting those profits and securing up stops. You can always re-enter, and what I like to do is if there's a big dip, I'm going to re-enter on that dip, knowing that whale is still in with time. So that's just kind of a little tip and trick that I do. I don't always hop in those 63-day ones. Like we were talking about yesterday, Sheldon, I'm like, you can usually typically get a discounted entry on, especially the longer term stuff, but sometimes it runs right away. You never know what that whale knows or what they're doing. So let's see what else we got here. So this is definitely so like right away you see that bid-ask spread in that spot. Not even worth your time to look at something like that. Not even worth it. I want to see what that tie's looking like. Yeah, everything's just in bid side right now. Just not getting a lot of good action here. And my reasoning behind this action is we have CPI coming up next Friday. This is going to be your first BLS report since the government shutdown, and this is the only one that's being released. That's a BLS report during the shutdown. So my guess next week, and the only reason, and this is conspiracy here, yep, M1, I was going to say, you got it. I was going to say the only reason they're probably going to release it is if it's good. Why else would you release it if it's bad? Keith, what's up? And we were just talking about this last night, and Keith's thing. The only reason I feel like they're releasing that CPI next Friday is it's good. Because if it's bad, they're not going to release it. So my guess for next week, and especially, let me pop up the calendar here for earnings. We have a lot of earnings next week. If I would like to load for me. My internet's being a little goofy today. I had to kind of... There we go. I mean, you got a lot of mega caps coming in next week. GE, Coke, got some defense, 3M, Netflix. Netflix and Tesla are going to be your big ones next week. Intel up there, obviously, too. Procter & Gamble's a big one that's really overlooked, too. Obviously, all your consumer products are in there. That's a very big thing. A lot of people overlook that. But, I mean, you got Honeywell. You got a lot of earnings next week, too. And if earnings don't disappoint and the market's waiting for that CPI print on Friday, I'm thinking it's maybe more of a calmer, uptrend, trendier week until we get to Friday. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think... Why would you release a report if it's bad? That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. And next week, on the docket here, I know I posted everything earlier, but... CV leading index, I know Keith loves that one. Fed speakers, so 2 on Tuesday. And I've been watching that mortgage rate too. I mean, you've been staying pretty steady here as well. Let me pop up that bar. I mean, you've been staying pretty steady here, and that 10-year, I haven't looked at it today. Let's pop this in here. Maybe. Come on. Yeah, 10 years up again here today at 4. Yeah, we're just chopping around this 4. And I mean, just the last 5 days here. Last 5 days here. 10-17. Oh, I was like, what am I doing? I mean, you're not any massive changes. And obviously you had that big dip yesterday, but 10-year picked up a lot today as well, too. So that is a pretty big rise here. I just got to check this quick message quick. Sorry. Okay. Okay, sorry. Been waiting for a text message. I had an electrician come out today trying to get some outlets installed. I'm waiting for him to send me over the bid, but yeah, that 10-year, I mean, really picked up from yesterday. So that's something to keep an eye on. And if you've been in Keith's lives, you know ever since we've been talking about this, ever since FOMC and the rate cut, that 10-year has been coming up. I mean, we came down a little bit here beginning mid-October here, but it's starting to kind of pick up again. So something to keep an eye on there. So that's why I've been watching that mortgage rate as well, too. Obviously, your 10-year yields and all that are, I mean, your benchmark. So something to watch here, especially with not getting a lot of data. I know Keith's big on the Baker Hughes rig counts, all the gasoline stuff. Existing home sales will be an interesting one next week. Otherwise, just a little manufacturing data, and you can see all of our data not coming in. But yeah, next Friday will be interesting with CPI and then your composite services and manufacturing PMI. So I'm guessing because of a lot of our data isn't coming in until the end of the week. Probably maybe a trendier, slower, up grinding week. Depending on earnings too, it's going to make a big fact. But I want to see what else. Yeah, those IREN puts yesterday. I should have swung a couple of those. I didn't swing any of them. But this whale actually cut yesterday intraday. So I mean, you see all that volume here, and you only had about 600 carryover. There's your initial entry, 511. Looks like they probably added a teeny little bit there. So about 550, and then you got 623 coming in there. So that whale got out 120 to about 173, but missed the grind up there, and obviously hitting that high 292 today. What else? We got SPY puts from yesterday, those things. Another one where that whale exited that same day. So this is why I'm always telling people too, just because it's ask side doesn't mean that it's a buy. You have 5,000 there, 5,000 there, 10,000 there. You had 5,000 contracts carry over, and these are all your little retail traders down in here. So that big whale closed yesterday at the ask. Again, that's why you have to kind of be cautious when you're just taking flow. But I mean, that whale closed from, and I think I posted that at about 10:18 or 9:20. I have to look on my spreadsheet up, but yeah, that whale out at 1394. So those BAC puts, again, this is why you don't always follow the whale either. I mean, this whale, 7,200 contracts, 82, they hit 109 on the day. You should be taking profits on something like that, especially when you know it's a short-term trade like that. So again, another great move on those, and they're all intraday moves. AMD calls from earlier in the week, those actually printed as well. Entry there, they popped there. I mean, you popped twice that day and even had yesterday to take some profits. Just kind of looking over this stuff. Google puts, again, 366, only hit about 404, so 10-15% on those. Still a good trade, though. Still can have a stop on and secure some profits. IWM calls. This one's a funky one because these, I mean, they popped slightly right away, came in. We had big mid-side flow come in yesterday. You can see all that carried over here. So that is interesting to me with how much time is left on these. So that whale is still in these, actually. WFC calls from Tuesday. I mean, again, 176, you see it pop there, 322. You should be taking profits. I mean, a lot of time there to take profits, and that yellow line is just that contract move. So, I mean, that's enough time to take profits, and you just don't follow these whales off a cliff. You should, whenever you're taking flow and whenever I take flow, I personally, if I'm just taking random flow that's coming in, I have a very tight stop. 10% is probably my max that I will take on a random piece of flow, just because you don't know what that whale is doing. This call could be part of another huge, massive downside put, and that whale just came in at a different time. So you never 100% know. It's just a good guiding tool on, hey, there's some interesting flow on this contract. But like this, I mean, 176, they come up to 322. You should be taking some profits. And knowing they're still longer term as well here, this is where, hey, maybe I want to recycle some of those profits and get back in. that's kind of what I like to push too as well. But good move on those. Uber calls, again, another one. Good move, 142, came up here, hit 217. Looks like passed a lot of those contracts off yesterday. And how do I know that? Just looking at that there. 1900 traded yesterday, barely a change in that open interest. So that whale's passing off those contracts at a loss. So this is, and these are real people too. So they're humans just like us. They can mess up on trades. So it's not a 100% guarantee on this stuff. That's why you got to be smart. You got to be diligent and actually just adjust your stops up properly, manage your risk properly. That's the biggest thing in trading, is managing that risk and not blowing your portfolio on one trade and having hopium that is going to come back. You can always reset or redistribute your profits to something that's actually going to get you some money. APLD, again, good pop on those. Not going to spend a lot of time because I'll have the flow recap up later. These BBAIs, 91, they came up and hit 97. Just a lot of volume here. Probably got out. It's when it starts to get to be a lot of volume like this, it makes it a little hard to track. So this one I'd mark down as a loser, obviously, 14 days. You shouldn't be entering something at 91 and letting it go down to 19. That's just a bad trade. JD puts, these are kind of flat, 32, chopping at 13. Again, that's almost a 50% loss there too. Probably wouldn't want to be in something like that. And VTS, these things rocketed. I couldn't get filled on those, but I mean, massive move on those, almost over 100% easily. KVU calls 23. I mean, you hit 30, and this is another big thing too. You have to look at percent returns on these. Don't look at dollars. You look at this 23 and you're thinking, oh, I only made $8 a contract on there. If you're trading 50,000 contracts and there's an 8 cent, not $8. Sorry, I caught myself there. That's a huge move. From that 23 up to that 30, you're looking at 10, 20, 35% or so. Math might be off a little bit there, but that's a great return. And that's with those kind of smaller contracts too. You might think, oh, I'm only making $2 because a lot of people aren't trading massive amounts of contracts. So you're seeing 10, 15 bucks come in and you're like, oh, that's it. Well, look at the percent. So KVU, Carvana, those popped here. I think 103 or, well, about the same entry. You can go with the high one right here, 125. I mean, over 100% on those. Palantir calls. Good move on those guys. Hit the high yesterday, looks like. TAC, again, another good one that moved up. Now it's kind of flat. BMY puts. Sheldon, don't look at these. 130, looks like we hit 146, 152 yesterday. NVIDIA calls, these ones are just down now, and there's just so much volume on NVIDIA, such a highly liquid ticker that gets traded, so it's hard to know exactly what's still in here. A lot of volume today too. And then last week PDD puts. Massive. Oh, these expired yesterday. They were 0 days. Circle puts. Massive from last Friday, 293. 1440 today. Lily calls. Those moved that same day, and that whale actually got out because you can see that open interest not coming in here. And I do want to pop this back to last Friday. I mean, these popped kind of quick, 9.55 up to 11.44. I have a stop on, and you can see where that whale's starting to kind of get out here. That size starts to add up. Then the BMNRs, I haven't looked at these. Oh, wait, yeah, I did. These, yeah, that whale got out pretty much right away, too, at 221. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of our flow from the week. I mean, a lot of great winners. So, I mean, and keep in mind that flow is time sensitive, too. Let's see what else we got coming in here. Some more LACs. So almost a mid-fill here. Almost more towards that bid. 10 cents over the bid. 15 under the ask. 84% out of the money. Probably not good flow. I know this has kind of been, I don't want to say a meme, but a lot of this stuff has been moving a lot of volatility. Take a peek at the flow here. So from a flow standpoint, I like that IV spike here. Spot's coming in at the ask. So 162.73 is our flow. Looks like it, or our IV looks like it's staying the same. I want to see where that descending fill is coming in though. So looking good, looking good. IV is matching the spot all the way up. So 75 contracts coming in at 59. This is still on the ask side here. Doesn't concern me. If this was like 52, maybe concerns me a little bit, but that IV spikes here again. And this, so obviously once there's a lot of size coming in on contracts, that bid ask can kind of get a little mixed up. This is honestly probably coming in at the ask here still. You're still staying at 60. So spot drops a little bit here. I'm just looking at that timing. Hard to know if it's part of that first trade. I guess probably not. It's probably retail people following along. So like this, I'll throw in the spotlight flow because it looks interesting, but 84% out of the money is kind of far. But I mean, if this thing moves $1 in the day or something, that's a big move. And I do want to look at the net premiums over the last week. And just kind of flat, not seeing a lot. Obviously, we had the big spike that one day. So yeah, this would be a spotlight flow play, which I'm going to pop in there quick. Then we can take a peek at the market tide. I won't be able to type up my half-hour little breakdown. Let me just pop this into the spotlight flow. Alright, let's pop this over. So how is our market tide looking? So again, everything's still staying bid side, net call, premiums at 180, negative 183 million, net put at 189, volume pretty flat for calls and puts. It was leaning a lot of put volume earlier in the day. But yeah, a lot of bid side premiums here. SPY's got your top net impact here. Let's take a peek at SPY. And then with SPY, it's always important to kind of look at that holdings tabs too. So SPY here, seeing a lot of net call premium. Obviously, you can see that on the net impact chart. A lot of call volume. How's the holdings looking? And I always like to look at the holdings too. Holdings are what drive the S&P 500. So important to kind of look at the holdings and what they're kind of doing. So those premiums kind of flat here, volume flat. So SPY, and just keep in mind with the net premiums, when you see just SPY, that is your net premiums on strictly SPY. So looking at the holdings makes sense just because that's Tesla, Apple, Microsoft, all the Mag 7s, all your 500 companies. Important to kind of look at that stuff. How are we looking? So, and your highest volume contracts are always going to be the 0 days no matter what. But your highest open interest. Let's see. So you got some 550, 1121s. A lot of bid side here though today. Just want to look at one of the long ones. Yeah, I mean there's just always so much volume on this. So that guy, and I mean, and on the money still. 176 million on that trade. Sitting at 1584, that's just wild. Yeah, Bruno, I don't typically trade the alerts, so we can kind of walk through it and take a peek. Let me find where it is. I'm just trying to look here. Give me a second. I think it's your connect. Let me go in here. So if I want to set my, probably should click the alerts tab. So you come up here in your alerts. So let's go to the actual alerts here. So it gives you a bunch of different alerts you can obviously that are kind of already templated in there. So like if your market tide crosses, like if the net call put premium crosses each other, your custom alerts here. So this is where you'd kind of be looking to do it. So like let's say you wanted to do something on an option. Let's do like a flow alert for a certain ticker. Then you just put in whatever you want to kind of name it. Then your rule here, you can kind of put in stuff like that. And I'm going to drop this link in the... So Bruno, what you'd want to do with that. So let me... wonder, I don't know if there's an intraday volume. I'll show you what I do. It's a lot easier because I'm in the broker already. So I just want to look in here quick before I hop over that. So your volume... So you'd have to set up that volume in here with that alert essentially. So like if that volume's over 50,000 or whatever, 5,000, then that's a different rule there. So you wouldn't do that. So all. Okay, so that would just be for your flow alerts. You can see I don't use the alerts in here usually. But yeah, you'd want to do something with the volume here. So what I do, which makes it a lot easier because I'm trading out a Webull. So let's say, I'm going to pull up an example here. So let me just find a, okay, we'll just do these DBXs and make it easy. Okay, let's just say the flow looks perfect. You like everything here. Okay, you're at 1,000 contracts traded on the day. So on the 116.2632 call. So let's go pull that up. DBX. It was the 126.32 call. So this is exactly, this is what I do. Oh shit, where'd we go? Okay. 32 call. So Webull makes it all, I don't know what broker you use, but Webull, I love it just because it's easy to do this. I come up here to the alert. I know that, yeah, IBKR, I'm sure they have it. I would assume 99% of the brokers have an alert set up. But, so Webull, what I do is, okay, I know that volume was at 1,000 contracts. What I'm going to do is set this at 1,300 contracts. And I'm not doing the full 1,000 contracts because if that whale starts sizing out slowly, I want to be notified that that volume's going up on that contract. So if I'm doing that, if it hits 1,300, I can easily click over to unusual whales and see, okay, well maybe it's just a teeny little trade coming off here. Otherwise, I think in unusual whales here, you can do create an alert here also with that volume. Let's click this and see. So, okay, you can also do, yeah, you can do it this way through unusual whales also, it looks like. You can see, again, like I said, I don't use this. So, 1,000 contracts, I'm just coming down here. 1,000, do 1,300. Come down here, create an alert, and it looks like you'll get an alert when that volume comes over that 1,300 there. Well, they're pretty easy to use it in unusual whales. I just do it in the broker just because that's where I'm making all my trades, so... it's just kind of a preference thing, but hopefully that helped you there, Bruno. It's actually a lot easier than it looks there. So when you come here, I just want to go back here. Come here, DBX. You got that little alert thing, create alert. Click on that option contract. And then just the size, I usually do about half of what that whale's at. Maybe even like a third typically, just so I can kind of see if that volume's starting to pick up there. Just come down here then you create alert. I need to delete this, otherwise I'm going to get an alert on it. I'm going to be like, what the hell's this? So there you go, Bruno. Look at that. I told you I'm happy we walked through it because then I can learn as well if I don't use something. See what else is coming in for flow. MA, so weekly over the weekend. So this is interesting because you have MasterCard and Visa coming in here too, and neither overlap earnings. So that is something that's interesting there to me. We'll look at Visa first. So clean opening trade 985. That's more than likely not even part of it. Let's take a peek at the flow. So 25.69, I'm just following this up. I don't like how that IV is decreasing on the way up here. And then you start to see some bid side come in here and that IV decreases more. You know, these are weeklies as well. So kind of not fun to swing weeklies over the weekend. So we'll look at MasterCard here as well. So this is seeing a lot of put premium here on the day. Clean opening trade, just not a lot of size here, which kind of, to me, may be a hedge. And you don't know what a hedge is. People hedge with calls. People hedge with calls. It's more rare, I'd say, but you're going to usually see people hedge with puts. But you can hedge with calls, too. You never know what somebody wants to do. But yeah, this IV is decreasing here, continues to decrease, and then it increases there. Yeah, I don't like this flow. I don't like either of those, and to me that's unusual. And the shorts on, yeah, you got it, Bruno. Yeah. So I mean, the flow might make a move in your direction, but I like to keep my flow very uniformed. I mean, when you look at my flow recap videos, all that flow in that recap video is typically that IV's increasing, that spot's increasing. It's very uniformed, and most of the day, I mean, you see all this flow. I'm looking at all this flow, not the multi-leg stuff. I don't look at that stuff. And some of the stuff like the locks, those are just block trades. Like I'm going to pull in this. I'm not even going to waste my time because it's going to be a big block trade probably. Like you can see where it's a big block right there. And this is just screen time doing this all the time. And this is a good example, though, of something that would look good as a block trade, though, because you have that IV increase there, and that IV's kind of staying up here after. So when you have that flow around that block trade there, that does help a little bit, but I tend to stay away from the block trades. Would be something like the spotlight flow, but yeah, like all this flow, you're going through it. 95% of the flow is junk, and this is why I really push on who you follow on like X and all that. There are people that will constantly post every piece of flow throughout the day and then cherry pick winners. I've challenged them a lot of times to just recap. Like, I understand I post flow and like the earnings and the long term and the spotlight flow, but I'm letting you know this is not 100% uniform flow. Your flow alerts, your ETF, and your flow and charts are tracked. So if you want tracked flow, that's where you're going to want to go. But like here, like all this will get recapped, and this is all the tracked flow. This is for the week. This is a lot of trades for a week, and you don't really need to take all these trades. If you've had an outstanding week, doesn't mean you need to get back in and keep kind of forcing it. That's just how I'm kind of as a trader. If I'm up 30% on the portfolio for the week, I'm probably not going to keep trading. I'm just going to trade very lightly. You don't need to take every piece that comes in. So Roblox, again, right away, multi-leg. Junk. I don't follow multi-leg trades at all. You're just going to kind of waste your time and trying to diagnose it, what it is, all that. Nothing good for premium selling. ETF gold's just getting hit today. Could be that gold dip that I know Keith was looking at. But yeah, those gold puts from earlier here. And like you'll see like some of that 355 here. I'm not going to repost that because you had that earlier flow that we posted where it ran from that 1337.27 to 1623 and trading at 1505 right now. No need to chase it. No need to post more and just kind of put yourself at risk here. Trying to see, does anybody have any flow or anything they want me to look up? It's quiet now. Just kind of looking at that tide, just chopping. How's the market looking? On the gap whale, yeah, I can pull that up here. So this, I was actually at lunch when this came in, so hence the no post, but like when you, and I'm going to pull it up actually on the full flow feed because I want you to see how it actually looks when it came in. That was like 12 something here. 1240. Yeah. Okay, here you go. So this is your raw flow feed, obviously, or not the raw flow feed, your live flow feed. So here's how gap hit the flow. So right away I noticed that spot's kind of at 1. It's kind of more of a mid-fill-ish, more ask side bias, obviously there. 34 days till earnings, that's what I'm kind of looking at right there. So then I come over here, I'm going to look at that flow. So obviously a lot of net call premium at the time when that came in. Massive quick move on here, and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, when sometimes you'll get a better entry on that longer dated flow, but this one actually ran right away. Sorry, I just got to look at one quick thing over here. Okay, sorry about that. Just waiting for this text from this guy. Yeah, I mean, it's trading at 34. Like this, I'm probably not going to chase. Even if it comes down to break even, it just depends. I mean, if you really like the flow and really like the chart setup, go for it. But I'm not a fan of kind of getting into something after it already made a move. But massive volume here on the day. Definitely an opening trade in that candle. I mean, 55,000 contracts on it, like you pointed out there, MG. But let's look at that flow feed here. So this one, you can see it. I'm going to pop the results down here. Scroll all the way down. So, I mean, this one, very textbook flow, very textbook. This is where that whale started to come in here. You can see all that size and premium coming in here. Massive spike in the IV coming in at the ask. Now you see repeated hits coming in after here. So this is where it would probably been a spotlight flow play for me if I would have seen it, because that IV decreases here now. You can see how it decreases on the way up, but then you have more flow coming here at 59.50 for the IV, and it's a mid-fill here, but that spot's increasing. Then you see that IV pop again here as well, with that spot increasing. So you and then let's see, 60.27, then a little bit more here as well with that spot increasing. So spot wise and bid ask fill wise, it looks great with that spot increasing. You're coming in at the ask. That IV wise, I don't like when it bounces around like that and decreases and then kind of increases. It can kind of throw it off. Obviously, if you're seeing a massive amount of contracts, like 50,000 contracts coming on something, that IV is going to probably bounce around. And like this is a good example of, okay, well, your IV didn't match up how you liked it, and the flow moved the correct way. So I mean, it's just something where it's screen time here. Like if you held a gun to my head, I probably would have said these are buys, but premium is 9 million on what, these 5.5. Yeah, that's the whole day, Bruno. That's your whole day premium here. So that's going to count all that little stuff in here too. So you got 430 there and then 604 there. So like this whale's probably starting to take a little profits here. So this is where you want to look at that open interest on Monday as well too. But obviously most of that volume's still in there. And you have 55 there and then only about 33 more there. But I mean, we got 4,800 contracts there. So yeah, that's why you're seeing that premium at 9.1 million there. That's that premium for that whole chain for the day. I want to look at that previous net premium too. That's a big move there. Yeah, so hopefully that kind of helps you there, MG. Sheldon, let's take a peek. I haven't looked at this thing here either. Let's take a peek if anybody's talking about Poet. Let's see. Okay, we'll just look at the top tweets. Yeah, and then when I start seeing all these people on X talking about Poet too, it's kind of, oh hey, wonder who that is. Yeah, when you start seeing all these people talking about Poet too, it can be a problem sometimes. Hey, let's look at the. I'm gonna pop this over to the thing because Keith just popped in the market on close data. It's already 10-2. Wow. So your net imbalance, 128.97 million there. So 3.621 million to sell, 3.492 to buy. So I'll just leave that up for everybody there. Buy, sell. Thanks for popping that in, Keith. I know I'm kind of cutting into your 10-minute time zone there a little bit. NFE. And these big 10-cent spreads I kind of typically will stay away from too as well, especially on something that's a $3 stock. And I mean, right away you can see that ask and bid. I mean, you're pretty split there. That's 50-50. I'm just pulling this in just to kind of show everybody. A lot of really high IV on this too. Oh, and we flipped 499.35 mil now. So 208, yeah, I mean, like this IV increases. 1452, so then see it decrease there too. And I mean, this is more toward, it's those big spreads. Well, I guess you could take power hour off then, Keith. MicroStrategy puts here, I know, kind of some smaller size there. This one you gotta kind of wait till Monday, see what that's about, and 45% out of them. Oh, big multi-leg percent junk there. Yeah, I mean, it's been a slower kind of grindy day too, especially for being OPEX, which is kind of a little surprising to me. Oracle puts here 500, doesn't overlap earnings, probably a block trade with the lock there. Getting creamed today. Yeah, see, like this, you don't have any flow to kind of look around that. I can't tell you how this whale trade is impacted or impacts the flow around it. I don't know if that IV would be decreasing if there was other flow here. Don't know if it's increasing. So like this, it's junk. It's junk. Oh boy. That is a flip-floppy market on close today. Is Tide doing anything? Not really. Haven't really even flinched. How's that net call premium looking for the last 7 though today? Because that is what's... Maybe, come on. My internet's been being crappy all day. I mean, yeah, a lot of bid side call premium here. That does kind of worry me a bit, but I mean, gamma related too. I mean, you're just so far diverged with that price. I mean, there's going to be a pullback at some point. I mean, for price to catch up to those gamma levels, you're going to have to get below the 600s here. And even on the Qs. I mean, just massive negative gamma here. I mean, if we were in an earnings season, I would be grabbing some more puts here. So opening trade here, probably a block, but we can take a peek. So like this, you can see how we have that flow around it to kind of take a peek at. IV spikes, come in at the ask. This would be spotlight flow here, 35, does overlap earnings. So this is actually earnings flow, sorry. So this will go into the earnings flow channel. Pop this in there. There's my earnings flow. flow in there. Yeah, just not a lot. Some medicals here. No, don't overlap earnings, but you're going to have so much volume on this, you're not going to be able to track this 800 whale that, well, why did I take that back? Let's take a peek. Just don't like it being weeklies. Not a fan of swinging weeklies over the weekend. So yeah, the IV 29, 67. So the IV does increase. I would say this flow drops off here at the end. Nope. And how far are we out of the money? 2%. Anything over 10% multi-leg tour, I start to kind of push it away. I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. How are we finishing here? Still 858.97. It's your net imbalance here. Got 4 minutes to go here. Just doing a quick little. I mean, you've just been following up, and I don't do my charting on Weeble. I'm just trying to kill the last couple minutes here. And you've just been kind of trending up in this little channel. Pop it out to the 15. A lot of volume here, though, obviously, on that last 30. Expected, but yeah, I mean, I can see that volume declining as we're going up through the day. That is. And that volume's a little bigger on those pushes when you got a decent green volume candle here under that little channel here. But yeah, it just looks like it wants to follow this channel. We'll see if it comes there. It comes back a little towards that VWAP. My guess is we're going to probably finish around here. We'll see. I mean, no major fundamental changes in the market today. I mean, nothing negative either. So finish up a little bit maybe. All the cues looking, yeah. I mean, just for the most part, it's not a massive move. How's it looking volume-wise? Pretty decent volume day. About the 30-day average. Got about a minute and 40 left. Long-term Amazons, 266K. Again, earnings. Yeah, that's such a long time. Some more medicals coming here in the 7:30, so they added to that. So this is where that volume starts to get kind of murky. You'd have to wait till Monday, and I probably would wait till Monday, especially on weeklies. All right, last month. That is not the. Okay, here we go. Last minute. Here. I just keep hearing all these dings coming in. I just want to hop over and look quick. And nothing extra. Tide just down. Just trying to see where we finish here. Hoping we finish a little bit, maybe slightly towards that bottom of that little channel here. I mean, that's just a clean channel for the most part today. Just a little bit, otherwise somebody's gonna comment on YouTube and be like, hey, you don't know how to draw a trend line, bro. Like, yeah, whatever. Come up here a little bit. You'd be surprised at some of the comments that are on there, and I'm just like, ugh. Weeble's usually the bad one. Alright, 3 o'clock. Kind of finished towards it, so alright, that's kind of all I got for today. I need to go out to Sam's Club and get some stuff in about an hour, and I'm gonna kind of get everybody's data up. So thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna hop off here, and everybody have a fantastic weekend.